So now these are the 5 strategies that you can actually use as soon as possible. When you're ready, you can actually use these 5 strategies. Just be careful on the numbers, because now you don't want someone actually coming back and saying that I actually lost money on this particular deal.
Guys, that's what we have been doing. We have been packaging deals, selling them to property investors. So that's what we do on a daily basis. If you are serious about a lucrative property source, you know who to call. No one.
Hello. Hi, beautiful people. Hope you had an awesome Christmas.
It's December, and guess what we're doing? We're investing in ourselves, and we're at it again, guys. You'll never catch us offside.
Yes.
You'll never catch us resting.
Yes, I mean, our December is not made for resting. Our December is actually made for equipping ourselves, so that January, when it comes, we're coming with a bang, man.
True, man. Whilst everybody's resting, whilst everybody's having the time of their life, we're having the time of our life working, putting in those extra hours. I'm so excited about today, guys. So excited about today. Today we will be discussing 5 strategies to make money within property for both beginners and property investors.
Right? So now this doesn't even matter if you actually have money or you don't have money. The thing that you have to know is the strategy, which strategy will be suited for you, right? Because remember the last time that we spoke, we told you that you can make property with or without money. All you just need to know is the knowledge. Okay, yes, from today's video, what we're actually going to be doing is that we're going to actually tell you the 5 strategies that you can actually implement within property, right? With or without money. The second part will be based on our goals for social media next year. What are we actually going to improve and implement within social media? And then the third part is going to be what strategies we actually use. So now stay in tuned and see how or which strategies we actually going to be using. So now for the 5 strategies. So the 5 strategies.
First strategy that I would like to talk about that's quite exciting. This is for if you do not have money and you're already owning a house. It's all about being creative. So now I'm sure you're asking yourself, what does this guy mean by being creative? We're talking about renting out parts of your house. And I mean, with regards to this, you can be creative in terms of your Airbnb or also your service accommodation, because this allows you to actually be creative with the house that you already own. And what happens is, with regards to this strategy in particular, what it does is that if you're not used to, let's say you've never had a property and this is your first strategy, and then you're like, okay, I'm renting out this room and it's actually giving me money, it gives you that confidence to actually go in now. Okay, how about I try to buy my own house or another house whereby I can actually capitalize from it. So this one I can say it's more of the safer one, because it's the house that you had initially. What's happening is that you're just renting out each room. So it can either be service accommodation and also Airbnb. But now what's important with these two is that you need to know your legislature so that you can be on the safe side.
Yes, I mean, this practically speaking, right, for most of the people, right, they won't feel comfortable with having a stranger in their house, right?
No.
So now this needs you to actually be willing to share space within your house, right? And the best part about service accommodation is that the person doesn't really live in that particular house for the whole month, right? They could be living for the 1 week or 4 days, depending on the agreement between you and the tenant.
Emphasizing on agreements and legalities around that. It's very important that you actually put that into place so that you avoid friction at all costs.
Definitely.
With your tenants.
Definitely. And the second strategy is
refinancing your houses.
Refinancing your house. This is the best strategy. This is the strategy that actually gets me excited, right? This is the strategy that gets me excited. So now what refinancing means, right, is that in your house, right, you have equity, right? So now say for instance your house is around 400,000, right? So now since your house is around 400,000, you've been paying your house for the past 10 years, and say for instance you have equity of say around 200,000, right? So now what you can actually do is that you can actually go to the bank and ask for a better loan, ask for them to refinance, speak to your bond originator, right? Speak to your bond originator to actually advise you on how to actually do it. But now remember, do not over leverage with refinancing, because now what happens is that you actually go to the bank, and then the bank can tell you how much equity you can actually take out, speaking of money terms, right? Thereafter, after refinancing that amount, the best part about refinancing is that it's non-taxable. It's a non-taxable event. So now say for instance that you refinance 50,000, right? That 50,000 will not be taxed by the SARS.
What about refinancing distressed properties? So I found a property which was distressed, and I saw that it's on the market for about 200 or 300.
Yeah.
And I know that if I can get it right, it will be around 500. So once I'm done fixing it, what can I do in terms of refinancing at that stage?
Definitely, this would actually go on to the third strategy, right? You can use this as the first strategy. You can use this is the second strategy that you talked about, right?
Okay.
You can also use it as the following one, which is rental, right? So now what happens a lot of times is that you go to a distressed house, right, and you negotiate it down. Say for instance, if the house was in a good condition, it would cost 600,000, right? And then you were able to negotiate it. Getting my words wrong. You're able to negotiate it down to around 400,000, right? After fixing it up and calling the bank to actually evaluate your house, you only find out that your house is worth 800,000, right?
Sure.
You can actually go back to the bank and ask for a loan on your house, right? Then that money, you'd actually use it to get the next property in order for you to get a rent amount.
Wow. So now, with regards, just to provide clarity, when we're talking about distress, we're talking about properties that are in bad condition. Hence, with distress, you have that leverage, or you have that power to decrease the normal price that they're selling it for, because it's all about negotiating. But don't forget, guys, at the end of the day, it's not about robbing people. We always emphasize that we're not out there to chat people. You have to meet their requirements. However, at the same time, you also have to make a profit out of this. So with distress, we're looking at houses that are in bad conditions. And now we did say with houses that are in bad conditions, you can either do two things about them. You can either rent it, and then you can use the strategy that we talked about, the strategy number 2 with regards to refinancing, or you can actually flip it. So what will happen is that I'll fix it, and then after I'll put it back on the market at market price and sell it quite high. So that's the third strategy, which is rental for distressed or either flipping.
Okay, then we go on to the fourth one. The fourth one is the rent to rent. But now this one becomes tricky, right? Because now you need to know your numbers. You can't just go into the rent to rent industry without knowing your numbers, right? So now what happens is that you have an owner, right? He's got the tie and stuff.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the owner, right?
Yeah, man.
He's
Yeah,
the
man.
owner of the house. So now I come to him and tell him that, okay, since now this is your house and you need rent, right? I'm going to actually take out this amount of money. Say his rent is 8,000 rand, right? I'll rent
So this is the rent that I'm paying for bond.
Yes, this is the rent that he requires from me, right? So now
I'm requiring from you or to bond.
you requiring it from me,
Okay.
right? So now he's requiring 8,000 from me, right?
Okay.
So now what I'll do is that I'll actually get another tenant to actually rent, right? So now I'll be the middleman between the tenant, myself, and him, right? So now between me and him, I'll have a contract stating that I'm actually going to use this as a serviced accommodation, right? And then I'll also have a different contract with the other person, right? To actually have a contract which will bind them as the tenant, right? So now, in knowing your numbers, you need to know that, okay, how much will the rent be? What are the requirements? Are you required to actually pay your levies? Are you required to pay your water and electricity? Are you also required to pay the bond? What are the conditions between me and him, right? That will actually determine how much I'm going to actually charge the next person, right? So now, in your houses, please be careful in your houses, right? Because then the places around will actually determine how much the rent is.
Sure.
So now, if the rent around there is 8,000, right, and he requires 8,000 from me, right, I can't actually do that, right? Why can't I do that? Because I won't be making any
You're breaking
profit,
even.
man.
Yeah, man.
I'm
You're
making
wasting your
this.
time. You're
Yes.
not even breaking even. You're wasting your time.
I'm wasting my time.
Because you're just helping me. You work.
Yes.
In other words, you're working for me for free.
Exactly. And we all about the profit. We all about the profit. So now this, when done right, did I need any money to actually go in?
No, you didn't need any money to go in.
Maybe I would have needed the money to draft the contracts, right?
Sure.
Yes, I would have needed the money to draft the contracts. But after that, I do not own the house, and there's a tenant that pays me and I pay him.
True.
Right.
And I mean, to make this deal more sweeter, that's when we talk about management, hiring a management company on your side. So now
Definitely.
let's say he's making an extra 3K on the side and the management company only requires about 500. So what happens is that he's going to remove himself from doing the daily duties of
Yes.
making sure that the tenants are happy, making sure that I'm happy.
Yes.
And he'll be paying from the 3,000, he'll be paying the management company 500, of which he'll be left with 2.5. And he won't be doing nothing. He'll actually be paid for a skill that he had because he invested in himself and he has the skill which is quite scarce
Definitely.
and very strategic.
That's when we talk about what? Passive income. Because all I have to do is
Wait for end of the month.
it's end of the month. Just got an SMS, right? So now that's the what? That's the fourth. That's the fourth one that we actually talked about.
The fifth one is your deal sourcing. With deal sourcing, what happens is that you look for lucrative deals. You look for deals that can actually be profitable for other people. So now what happens is that we'll call you an entrepreneur, a property entrepreneur. So now what you'll be looking for is property investors. So when you're attending seminars and when you meet up with people, you're looking for people who have money, because you have the time and the skill to look for these deals, package them, then sell them off to people who have money. So this is quite a strategic skill, because you're getting paid for what you know.
Definitely. But here, just be careful, right? Just be careful on the numbers, because now you don't want someone actually coming back and saying that I actually lost money on this particular deal. In deal sourcing, what you're actually getting paid for is to finding the deal. After finding the deal, negotiating the deal. After negotiating the deal, actually having a proper budget to actually fix the house up and actually do what? Sell it back into the market. So now, if you do not know your numbers, I stress, do not go into deal packaging, because now once you go into deal packaging and someone says that you rip them off, it becomes a problem on your behalf and your company's behalf, right?
And you do
Because
not
now
want that.
you do not want non-wealth to be known as a scam, right?
Definitely not.
You always want to keep that company culture as the best. Okay, so now since we've gone through the five things that we actually talked about, we're going to talk about the social media. Our social media has really done good
Man,
for
we're so
the past 4 months, right?
We're so excited about it. And we're so excited every week. We look forward to providing informative information on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even on TikTok. Man. We're so excited about this.
Definitely. So now our goals for next year is to actually get our account monetized on the YouTube channel, right? If we can actually push to the 1,000 subscribers, the 1,000 hours.
And the only people that can actually make this possible is you. You need to subscribe, you need to like, and we will deliver
Content every week.
proper content for free, just for you.
Right? Then for Facebook, we looking to get 2,000. Do you think 2,000 is a good one?
I think 2.5 by the end of next year. 2.5.
2,500. So now this time next year, what's the date today? It's the 12th. No, it's the 20th. It's the 20th, right? So next year this time we should be at 2,500.
Guess who will
Right.
make that possible again? You.
Us will be delivering content to you every week.
On Twitter,
2,500 will be good.
2,500. Guess who's going to be responsible for doing that? You again.
Which of the five that we actually talked about, right? These are not the only five, guys. The property market is huge.
It's very depth.
Huge.
And what
A
you
lot
need to do is that you need to look at yourself, where you are, and then which strategy works for you.
Yes. So now, of the five that we actually talked about, we'll be using, I think, 3 from the 5, right?
Sure. Normal, for instance, we're currently dealing with the first one, which is flipping. We're currently on flip.
Okay. So now we're getting, what's happening right now is that we're getting the house on contract. We're waiting for the contract to be signed, and then we'll be in on that house. We'll actually show you the progress of how it looks like before and after.
Guys, the house is a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. I can guarantee you that the house is a mess.
Do you think we should show them?
No, they'll see it. I think it should be a surprise. They should keep tuned.
Okay, keep tuned, and it shall be a surprise for you. Next year, once it's after contract, we'll actually show it to you, right? That's the first one that we'll be doing. So now we said that we just bought a house, It's distressed, right? It's in a mess. It's in a terrible state, right? We're going to fix it up. After fixing it up, we're actually going to sell it back into the market, right?
And all this will be available for you,
Right?
if you stay tuned.
Yes, that's the first one that we're actually going to be doing. Okay, yeah, the rent to rent. Do you
Man.
think the rent to rent is the way to go?
It's quite interesting, man. Now I wonder how's it going to pull up, because, man, I'm quite confident in flipping, and you are the rent to rent guy. So
I'm the rent to rent guy.
But I trust you, man.
I'm the rent to rent guy. So now next year we'll be actually going into the rent to rent, and the last one that we'll actually be doing is the deal sourcing. So now what we'll be doing is that we'll be packaging deals. After packaging deals, and we'll be selling it into for
Property investors, guys, that's what we have been doing. We have been packaging deals, selling them to property investors. So that's what we do on a daily basis. If you are serious about a lucrative property source, you know who to call. Now, get us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok.
Instagram. We everywhere, man.
Everywhere.
We everywhere. We everywhere.
Now, well,
Have an awesome year, and looking forward to next year.
take care, guys.
See you next year.
Take care.